Cooking is fun is apparently not a popular sentiment. Currently, I am a college freshman, and the amount of my friends and peers that have a reluctance to cook is, well, great. I now know who not to date. I personally like cooking in college despite being the minority. Look at my dorm shelf compared to my roommates. In fact, I actively chose the lowest amount of food I could get at the cafeteria in my college to force myself to learn to cook and to save money. College is expensive, guys. But my question is, why wouldn't you want to learn how to cook? It's cheaper, healthier, and you get the complete freedom to choose what's in your food. You think knowing math is gonna save you when you graduate with $100K debt? No, knowing how to cook will. So naturally, I began acquiring some cooking utensils to use. But they are all a bit boring. People like having cool things, cool cars, cool clothes, and cool trash. I want some cool trash, and what better way than to coolify my cooking than by customizing it. Today I'll be showing you how to add some much needed spice to your cookware. That was a joke. Using some new technology known as a laser engraver, you can add permanent designs and artworks to any piece of wood, and that includes cookware. It can make some pretty cute cutting boards or spatulas, and even though my fellow college students might not appreciate it, your mom might. If you like cooking, or like someone who likes cooking, you might want to stick around. This whole idea is built upon the idea of a laser engraver, which you probably don't have. They do take up quite a lot of space and money, but you can find them at schools or public libraries for free use. In fact, we have one of these in college. This is the Maker Workspace, a public workshop that offers laser engravers and help. However, I wouldn't come here if I were you. I actually applied to work here, and they rejected me. Like, huh? Did they look at my resume? Who the hell in college is more fit to work a dumb desk job at a crafting workshop than me? I mean, I might have screwed up the interview, but that's besides the point. Instead, I recommend buying one instead. For example, today I'm going to use the ELEGOO Phecda. What? Huh? Phecda. How do you pronounce this?
Phecda.
What?
Phecda.
This is the ELEGOO Phecda, a laser engraver developed by ELEGOO, who you may know for their resin 3D printers. I certainly like them. Buying a laser engraver is expensive, but if you're short on some cash, as most cooks are, the Phecda is a pretty good deal. You get a massive package which has everything from glasses, an air filter, this fancy thing, and a honeycomb panel, and the only major downside is that it needs to be assembled, which was honestly horrendous. Dealing with screws are a pain, and the designers of this somehow made instructions to do this. What kind of assembly is this? I guess that is the simple trade of more of your work for less of a cost, which is okay with me. Despite being a whole Lego set to assemble, the engraver is still very sleek and top of the line when you figure everything out. We'll be using the Phecda for today's project, and if you are interested in following along and getting your own, check the description below. To get this project going, you'll need two things. The first thing is a desired piece of cookware. These are the ones I'm using today. Anything flat and pure wood. Even a wood cup could theoretically be done with this rotation tool. However, engraving wood with plastic coatings is unadvised because the laser will probably melt and burn it. You can tell these aren't coated with plastic because they feel rough and matte. I'm not sure about this one though. You can even laser engrave metal if they're made of stainless steel, though that isn't the topic of today's video, maybe a future one. The next thing you will need is a design. Laser engravers can work easily with simple images, but I'd recommend engraving a lined design. It'll be much easier to get good results, and I think it just looks better. This can be anything you can find online, from text, art, accents, to a Minecraft crafting table. But I think creating one yourself is probably the best choice. You can control how it looks, how big it is, and what it is. This is perfect for artists who can draw, which will make your cookware extremely unique. I decided to make my designs based off my favorite chefs, Remy, Mr. Ping, and Xiangling. I mean, come on guys, who wouldn't want a rat, a duck, or an anime girl on their cutting board? Hello? Drawing was a bit of work, but it was also very rewarding. Look at how cute this little Remy is. Isn't that nice? And I know these designs might not appeal to the more adult audience a cooking video should appeal to, but with this much creative freedom, I don't think you should be afraid to do what you like. Fun, silly stuff like this is what gives custom-made things their value, because you're never going to be able to buy something like this at a store. With that being said, be sure to put a lot of love and effort into your designs, especially because after you laser engrave it, there's no turning back. With laser engraving, what I do is I hook up my laptop to the machine and use this program called Laser GBRL to control the engraver. The largest challenge with engraving your own cookware is that you don't know the proper settings for engraving, and no one knows. Laser engraving depends on the power of the laser, the speed of the laser, and the type of material you're using. This determines the depth and even the color of your engraving. Normally, you can just test out your settings on a scrap piece of wood, but obviously in this case, I don't really have a scrap piece of my spatula or cutting board. Even if I were to use the same settings that were used to cut this piece of wood, it might not be the same for this. For someone new, this might be a little too much to take in. Luckily, I have some experience, so I'm just gonna try it out without thinking. I'll do the spatula first since it's the most worn down, and if I did screw up, I wouldn't be too sad. The laser engraver can be used to align where you're gonna be engraving by comparing the program to where the laser is in real time. For example, clicking this framing tool will cause the engraver to frame a square of where the image will be engraved. Additionally, you also have to remember to align the height of the laser. I forgot the spatula was a bit curved, so I had to tilt it slightly. Lastly, I turned on the air pump they provided to prevent some burning. When you got everything figured out, you can just click start. Within 10 minutes, the spatula is changed forever. The engraver did a wonderful job. There's not a hint of burn made, and it looks like it was carved. This is definitely the safest way to decorate cookware since no artificial materials are added. Off camera, I also decided to add his name to the handle to make it a bit cooler. Too bad the spatula has been cooked, I guess. I have no clue what I did to this thing. Mr. Ping is up next. This time, I designed the image to perfectly align with the measurements of the cutting board. This makes aligning the laser much easier because I just have to align it to the edge of the cutting board. Although it takes half an hour, it's definitely worth it. Since I seem to be on a roll, let's move on to the large one. The design I made for this was much more detailed, so I made sure to align it perfectly. I didn't want to screw this one up, so I decided to put less power on the engraver to do a test run. This theoretically should make a very light engraving that isn't permanent, and allows you to ensure you have a good product. However, I kinda messed up. Slight variations in the wood material caused the light engraving to be dispersed and the edges burned up. I realized this was because I chose the constant setting. This means the engraver keeps a constant power when engraving, but this is a problem near the edges where it slows down to change directions, causing a deep, dark burn. So it's much wiser to choose the dynamic setting where the engraver adjusts its power when it slows down. This is what I meant by you can't really test your settings on your cookware. Luckily, there is a solution to this problem. It just involves some sandpaper and a lot of elbow grease. Good as new. Ignore this scar right here. Let's try again and not fail. I changed the settings and ditched the test run idea. It took an hour, but this cutting board is now probably worth 10 times its original value. That was quite successful, and now all this cookware is one of a kind. I finished all my designs, but since this is technically a tutorial, I wanted to attempt one last engraving and show you the true power of a laser engraver. This time I was attempting to engrave that Minecraft crafting table idea that I had a while back. But the problem with this is that it isn't a black and white design. However, as illustrated from these tests, it seems like you can somewhat control the color of an engraving by changing the settings. This way, it is possible to engrave different colors and depths of an image, although it is very difficult to do so. For this, I manually divide up the different colors of the design into similar shades so I can engrave them with different settings. But remember, I have no clue what settings makes a deep dark color and what makes a lighter brown, so I had to test it. If you're crazy, like me, you can test settings on a cutting board and then sand them off to have accurate colors for your engraving. That's what I did to this cutting board, and you can see how there's some slight shades that I tested out, and I made sure to record the settings on my phone. Then, once you're done, you can sand off the engraving, and hopefully your cutting board will be fine. But if you do test out a setting that engraves too deep, then, well, good luck. Now, with the proper settings and knowledge, you can engrave each layer individually and watch some magic unfold. Oh, and make sure to wear some safety goggles, by the way. My eyesight is already bad enough, and laser in my eyes isn't really something I want or need. The result is actually amazing. You may disagree with me, but this may be the best cutting board on earth. By using a simple laser engraver like the Phecda to its greatest potential, you can really create some amazing pieces of art. As a final step, I give each piece of cookware a good late night shower. As a final tip in this tutorial, I suggest seasoning your wood cookware. This just means rubbing some oil into the cutting boards to keep them hydrated, similar to real wood, which is stronger when it's wet. I decided to use this wood conditioner from my favorite superhero, Peter Man. I actually don't know why I bought this for $30. I saw it and might have made some bad financial decisions. Instead, you can just use mineral oil, which is $20 cheaper. They recommend rubbing in the oil with a cloth, but I think it's time to give the cookware some love.
Yeah, boy.
Cooking isn't fun seems to be what most people believe. I guess I'm not most people, but then again, most people don't have the luxury of Mr. Ping watching you as you dice vegetables. Just like these characters, I love cooking, and now I enjoy it so much more since I have something to be proud of. It adds more fun, personality, and beauty to your meals, and I recommend anyone with a laser engraver to give it a try. As stated before, don't be afraid to check out the ELEGOO Phecda in the description below, because $300 for a 10-watt laser engraver that works wonderfully is actually a steal. So much to do with it, and I wish I had more time to cover more ideas. Too bad. As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to make some more fun.